This 17-year-old had no idea he was about to help one of the richest men in America. And what that billionaire did to thank him will completely blow your mind. I'm talking about a reward so life-changing that it didn't just transform this kid's future, it transformed an entire community. 7:30 a.m. on a Cleveland highway. Rush hour chaos. That's when Damon Williams, a 17-year-old on his bike, spotted trouble. A well-dressed older man stood helplessly beside his broken BMW flat tire. No clue how to fix it. Panic written all over his face. Now here's where it gets interesting. Damon was already running late for the most important exam of his life. But what he chose to do next changed everything. And when you hear who this stranger really was... But to understand why Damon's decision was so costly, you need to know what this morning meant to him. And trust me, when you hear about the sacrifices he was already making, what he did next will hit you even harder. Meet Damon Williams. I am 17 years old, senior at East Cleveland High School, and carrying more weight on his shoulders than most adults. Every morning at 5 a.m., while his classmates are still sleeping, Damon is already on his bike. 50 houses, 50 newspapers, $3 a day. It's not much, but every penny counts. You see, Damon doesn't live the typical teenager life. No video games, no hanging out at the mall, no asking for lunch money. He lives with his grandmother, Ruby Williams. She's 72, raised him since he was 8 when his parents couldn't. Ruby worked 30 years in the school cafeteria before her arthritis got too bad to continue. Now she survives on Social Security, $650 a month. That's it. Their little rental house tells the story. Peeling paint on the walls, a roof that leaks every time it rains. They've got buckets strategically placed in 3 different rooms. The heating bill they can barely afford, so they layer up in winter and use space heaters sparingly. Ruby's medicine costs more than their grocery budget some months. Damon has watched her count pills like they're gold coins, sometimes skipping doses to make them last longer. That's why Damon works 3 jobs. After his newspaper route, he bikes to school. Not because he has to. The bus runs his route. But gas money saved is grocery money earned. At school, Damon maintains a 3.8 GPA. His teachers love him. His classmates respect him. But while they're planning weekend parties, Damon is planning his next shift. After school, he tutors younger kids in the library. $5 an hour. It's not much, but those kids need help, and Damon needs every dollar he can get. Then at 6 p.m., he bikes downtown to Moretti's Italian restaurant. Dishwasher, minimum wage. He works until 11, comes home exhausted, then stays up doing homework by lamplight because the ceiling fixture in his bedroom burned out and they can't afford to replace it. But here's what makes Damon special. He never complains, never feels sorry for himself, because Ruby taught him something important. Baby, we might not have much money, but we're rich in character. And character is something nobody can take away from you. Damon has a dream. Ohio State University. Engineering program. He's smart enough. His grades prove it. But smart doesn't pay tuition. So he's been working on a scholarship application. The essay question: describe a challenge that shaped your character. He's written 17 drafts, crumpled them all up. How do you write about poverty without sounding like you're begging? How do you turn struggle into inspiration without making it sound fake? The deadline? Today, 4 p.m. But that's not even the biggest pressure Damon is facing this morning. Today is his final chemistry exam. 30% of his grade. No makeup exams allowed. School policy. Ms. Rodriguez, his chemistry teacher, has been clear about this from day one. This test determines whether Damon qualifies for Ohio State's pre-engineering program. Without that qualification, his scholarship application is worthless. Ms. Rodriguez believes in Damon. She's written recommendation letters. She stayed after school to help him study. She's even bought him a scientific calculator with her own money because she knows he couldn't afford one. The whole neighborhood is watching Damon. Mrs. Patterson from next door always asks about his grades. Mr. Santos from down the street tells everyone about that Williams boy who's gonna be somebody someday. Damon's gonna be the first one to make it out of this neighborhood, they say. First one to go to college. First one to become an engineer. The pressure is immense, not just for himself, but for everyone who believes in him. For Ruby, who sacrificed her savings to buy his school supplies. For Miss Rodriguez, who sees potential in him. For the whole community that's invested their hopes in his success. That's why this morning is so crucial. Damon woke up at 5 a.m. as usual, but Ruby was having a bad arthritis day. Her hands were so swollen she couldn't open her pill bottles. Her knees hurt so bad she could barely stand. Damon spent an extra 20 minutes helping her, organizing her medications, making sure she had everything she needed for the day, making her breakfast, checking that she could reach everything important. It's what you do for your family. It's what Ruby taught him. We take care of each other, baby. That's what family means. But those 20 minutes made him late. And in a life where every minute is calculated, being late is a luxury Damon can't afford. Now he's pedaling frantically through Cleveland streets, backpack bouncing with each bump. His phone shows 7:42 a.m. School starts at 7:45. The chemistry exam begins exactly at 7:45. Ms. Rodriguez is strict about punctuality. As he pedals, Damon's mind races. Can't be late. Can't miss this exam. Ruby's counting on me. Ms. Rodriguez is counting on me. The whole neighborhood is counting on me. His legs pump harder. The wind whips through his worn jacket. Just 3 more minutes to get to school. Just 3 more minutes to secure his future. That's when he sees the BMW with its hazard lights flashing. And everything changes. What happened next would force Damon to choose between his future and his values. And what makes this choice so powerful is that he had every reason to keep riding. 7:42 a.m. Through the morning traffic, Damon spots the scene that will change everything. A luxury BMW sits disabled on the shoulder of Route 90. Hazard lights blinking like a desperate SOS. And standing beside it, looking completely lost, is a man in his 60s. This isn't just any man. Even from a distance, Damon can tell he's wealthy. The suit looks expensive, probably costs more than Damon makes in 6 months. The watch catching the morning sunlight appears to be a Rolex. The car itself is worth more than most houses in Damon's neighborhood. But right now, none of that wealth is helping him. Meet Richard Ashford, 62 years old, CEO and founder of one of Ohio's largest companies. Worth over $2 billion, he can buy almost anything in the world, except he can't buy his way out of this moment. Richard stands there, phone pressed to his ear, pacing back and forth. No signal, he mutters, staring at his device like it's personally betrayed him. Damn it! He's not used to being helpless. Richard Ashford is a man who solves problems with phone calls and money. But right now, on this stretch of highway, he's just another person in trouble, and he's panicking. You see, Richard has the most important board meeting of the quarter starting at 8:30 a.m. $50 million in investor decisions hanging on his quarterly presentation. The reports that will determine his company's next major expansion are sitting in his briefcase. This isn't just any meeting. This is the meeting that will decide whether Ashford Industries moves forward with their biggest community development project ever. Richard checks his Rolex. 7:43 a.m. 47 minutes to get downtown, set up his presentation, and convince 12 board members to approve the largest investment in his company's history. Without this meeting, hundreds of jobs won't be created. Without this meeting, the community development project dies. Richard tries flagging down cars. A red sedan approaches. He waves frantically. The driver glances over and speeds up. A pickup truck. Same thing. A van full of construction workers. They pretend not to see him. 23 vehicles have passed in the last 10 minutes. Not one has stopped. And Richard understands why. A black teenager on a bike they might stop for. But a well-dressed white man beside a luxury car? People assume he has resources. People assume he'll figure it out. But assumptions don't change tires. Richard attempts to handle it himself. How hard can it be, right? He's built a construction empire. Surely he can change one tire. He pops the trunk, finds the spare and the jack. But as he kneels beside the car, reality hits. He hasn't changed a tire in 30 years. Maybe longer. The jack doesn't look like the ones he remembers. The lug nuts are tighter than he expected. When he tries to loosen the first one, the wrench slips and he scrapes his knuckles on the asphalt. Blood mixes with the dirt on his hands. His expensive suit is getting wrinkled and dirty. His carefully styled silver hair is falling out of place. For the first time in decades, Richard Ashford feels genuinely helpless. Meanwhile, Damon's phone shows 7:43 a.m. 2 minutes to get to school. 5 minutes of hard biking ahead of him. In his mind, he can see Miss Rodriguez starting the exam exactly on time. He can picture his empty seat. He can imagine his classmates looking around, wondering where he is. This is the moment of truth. Damon could easily keep riding. He has every logical reason to continue. His entire future depends on this exam. Ruby has sacrificed everything for his education. The whole community is counting on him. Plus, this man clearly has money. He'll figure something out. Call a tow truck. Call a driver. Call someone. That's what most people would think. That's what most people would do. But then Damon hears Ruby's voice in his head. Not from this morning, but from years of conversations, years of lessons. Baby, character isn't what you do when people are watching. It's what you do when nobody would blame you for walking away. We help people not because of who they are, but because of who we are. When someone needs help, you help. That's who we are. That's who you are. Damon looks at Richard struggling with the jack. He sees the frustration, the panic, the genuine helplessness of someone who's built his whole life around having control, now facing a situation where all his money and power can't help him. In that moment, Damon doesn't see a rich stranger who probably doesn't deserve his help. He sees someone's grandfather, someone's father, someone who needs assistance. And Damon makes his choice. He pulls over. 7:44 a.m. on his phone. He's officially choosing this stranger over his exam. What happens next will prove that sometimes the most important decisions are made in the space between logic and compassion. As Damon worked under intense time pressure, he had no idea he was being quietly evaluated by one of the most powerful men in Ohio. But first, let me tell you about the moment that changed everything. Damon pulls his bike over and sets it against the guardrail. His phone shows 7:44 a.m. Every second that passes is another second away from his exam. But he doesn't hesitate. "Excuse me, sir," Damon calls out, jogging toward the BMW. "Looks like you could use some help with that tire." Richard looks up, surprised. Here's this black teenager, clearly in a hurry, offering to help a complete stranger. For a split second, Richard feels that instinctive wariness. A young man approached him on an empty stretch of highway. Old habits from a lifetime of being careful. But then he sees Damon's face, genuine concern, no agenda, just someone who wants to help. Yes, I could definitely use help, Richard admits, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "I'm afraid it's been years since I've changed a tire." "No problem, sir," Damon says, already assessing the situation. "Let me take a look." And this is where Damon's character truly shines. He doesn't just help. He takes charge. Years of working with Mr. Peterson, his neighbor who taught him about cars, has prepared him for this moment. Damon quickly locates the jack and spare tire in the BMW's trunk. His movements are confident, practiced. He's done this before, many times, on Ruby's old Honda. "First thing we need to do is loosen these lug nuts while the tire's still on the ground," Damon explains, showing Richard the proper technique. "Gives us better leverage." Richard watches, fascinated. This 17-year-old is teaching him something he should have learned decades ago. But what impresses Richard even more is how Damon handles the pressure. Both of them keep checking the time. Richard glances at his Rolex. 7:46 a.m. Damon checks his phone. Same time. They're both running out of minutes. "Sir, you mentioned you have an important meeting?" Damon asks while working on the lug nuts. "Board meeting at 8:30. Pretty crucial one, actually." "Don't worry, sir. We'll get you there on time." The confidence in Damon's voice is remarkable. Here's a kid who's sacrificing his own crucial morning, but he's focused entirely on making sure this stranger doesn't suffer. Richard finds himself studying Damon more closely. The way he protects Richard's expensive suit from getting dirty, how he positions himself to take the brunt of the work, how he explains each step clearly, treating Richard with respect despite the obvious difference in their ages and circumstances. "Now I'm going to jack up the car," Damon says. "Could you step back a bit for safety, sir?" Even under time pressure, safety comes first. Ruby's lessons run deep. As Damon works, Richard tries to make conversation. "You seem pretty skilled at this. Work on cars often?" "My neighbor, Mr. Peterson, taught me. He says every man should know how to change a tire, check oil, and jump a battery. Basic stuff to help people when they're stuck." "Smart neighbor," Richard says. "What's your name, son?" "Damon Williams, sir." "Well, Damon Williams, I'm Richard Ashford. And I have to say, your parents raised you right. Actually, my grandmother raised me, sir." "Ruby Williams. She's the one who taught me to always help when I can." Richard feels something stir in his chest. He was raised by his grandmother, too, after his parents died when he was young. The parallel isn't lost on him. "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman." "Yes, sir, she is. Always says character is who you are when nobody important is watching." That phrase hits Richard like a lightning bolt. Nobody important is watching. But Richard knows better now. Someone very important was watching. Someone who could change this young man's life forever. Damon continues working, efficient and methodical. He removes the flat tire, positions the spare, begins threading the lug nuts back on. "Hand tighten first, then use the wrench," he explains. "I want to make sure it's seated properly before we lower the jack." Richard is amazed by the teenager's competence. Most adults he knows couldn't handle this situation with such calm professionalism. But what really impresses Richard is something else entirely. Despite the time pressure, despite the fact that he's clearly sacrificing something important, Damon never rushes the safety checks. He double-checks every lug nut. He ensures the spare tire has adequate pressure. He carefully stores the flat tire and tools in the trunk, organizing everything neatly. "Sir, this spare will get you where you need to go, but you'll want to get the flat tire repaired soon. I noticed it's not just a puncture. The valve stem is going bad." Richard stares at him. "How did you know that?" "Mr. Peterson taught me to always look for the root cause, not just the symptom. Save yourself trouble down the road." 15 minutes later, the BMW is roadworthy. Damon's hands are dirty, his jacket has grease stains, but he's smiling. "All set, sir. You should make your meeting with time to spare." Richard checks his watch. 7:59 a.m. Damon is right. He'll make it downtown in plenty of time. But here's the moment that will change everything. Richard reaches for his wallet. "Son, I can't thank you enough. Please, let me pay you for your time." Damon's response is immediate. "No, sir, that's not necessary. Just glad I could help. Please take something. Gas money, at least." Richard gestures toward Damon's bicycle, realizing the absurdity mid-sentence. Damon laughs, the first genuine smile since this whole situation began. "It's okay, sir." "Really? Just pay it forward sometime." "Pay it forward." The phrase resonates with Richard. How long has it been since someone helped him without expecting something in return? Richard tries a different approach. He pulls out his business card, but the morning dew has made it soggy and unreadable. Frustrated, he puts it back. Then he has an idea. Richard removes his college ring, a distinctive Harvard Business School class ring from 1984. Heavy gold with a deep red stone. It's been on his finger for nearly 40 years. Here, he says, offering it to Damon. A token of appreciation. Damon hesitates. The ring looks valuable, important. Sir, I couldn't. That looks like it means something to you. It does mean something. That's exactly why I want you to have it. Sometimes important things need to go to people who understand their value. Reluctantly, Damon accepts the ring. It's too large for his fingers, so he slips it onto his keychain next to his house key and the small cross Ruby gave him. Thank you, sir. I'll take good care of it. Richard gets in his BMW, starts the engine. It purrs to life perfectly. Through the window, he says, "What you did today, it says everything about who you are, Damon Williams. Don't ever change that." As Richard drives away, Damon notices something that will become important later. The license plate reads, Ashford 1, not random numbers, but a vanity plate. And that name, Ashford, why does it sound familiar? As the BMW disappears into traffic, Damon checks his phone. 8:10 a.m. He's officially missed his exam. But somehow he doesn't regret a single minute of it. As Damon arrived at school 25 minutes late, he had no idea the ring in his pocket was about to change everything. But first, let me show you what real character looks like when the consequences hit. Damon bikes frantically toward East Cleveland High, the Harvard ring bouncing against his keys with every bump. His phone shows 8:10 a.m. The chemistry exam started 25 minutes ago. When he finally reaches the school, his heart sinks. The hallways are eerily quiet. Everyone's already in class. Everyone's already taking the test that will determine their future. Damon's sneakers squeak against the polished floor as he hurries to Ms. Rodriguez's classroom. Through the small window in the door, he can see his classmates hunched over their exam papers. Pencils moving, calculators clicking, futures being decided. He takes a deep breath and knocks softly. Ms. Rodriguez looks up, sees Damon through the glass, and her expression immediately shifts to disappointment mixed with concern. She steps outside, closing the door behind her. "Damon," she says quietly, "you know the policy." "Yes, ma'am, I understand." Ms. Rodriguez studies his face. She's been teaching for 15 years. She knows Damon Williams. This isn't the kid who skips class or oversleeps. This isn't the student who makes excuses. "What happened?" she asks, her voice softer now. "I had to help someone, Miss Rodriguez. Someone who really needed it." She notices the grease stains on his jacket, the dirt under his fingernails. "Car trouble?" "Not mine, ma'am. Someone else's. And here's what makes this moment so powerful." Ms. Rodriguez understands exactly what happened. She knows Damon's character. She knows he wouldn't miss this exam unless it was for something important. But policy is policy. "Damon, you know I can't make exceptions." The school board is very clear about final exam makeup. "I know, ma'am. I'm not asking for one." Ms. Rodriguez is taken aback. Most students would be begging, pleading, making excuses, but not Damon. "You understand what this means for your Ohio State application?" "Yes, ma'am." "And you're okay with that?" Damon thinks about Richard Ashford, probably walking into his board meeting right now because a teenager chose to help instead of protecting his own interests. "I did the right thing, Ms. Rodriguez. I'd do it again." The hallway falls silent except for the distant sound of pencils scratching paper in classrooms throughout the building. Ms. Rodriguez sees something in Damon's eyes. No regret, no self-pity, just quiet confidence in his choice. "Go to the office," she says finally. "Explain the situation to Principal Johnson. Maybe there's something we can figure out. Later that afternoon, the news spreads through East Cleveland High like wildfire. Damon Williams, the kid with the 3.8 GPA, the one everyone said would make it out of the neighborhood, the one carrying everyone's hopes, missed his final chemistry exam to help a stranger change a tire. His friend Tyler finds him at his locker after school. "Dude, are you insane? That was your ticket to Ohio State." "Maybe," Damon says, cleaning out his textbooks. "Maybe not." "What do you mean, maybe? Your whole scholarship application depended on that grade." "Then I guess I'll find another way." Tyler stares at him like he's speaking a foreign language. "Another way?" "Damon, this was the way. This was your shot." "Tyler, have you ever noticed how the people who make it aren't always the ones who take the safe path?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "I don't know yet. But I know I did the right thing today." That evening, Ruby is waiting on the front porch when Damon bikes up to their little house. One look at his face tells her everything. "What happened, baby?" Damon tells her the whole story. The stranded motorist, the choice he made, the exam he missed, the consequences he's facing. When he finishes, Ruby is quiet for a long moment. Then she stands up, walks over to Damon, and wraps him in the biggest hug of his life. "I have never been more proud of you," she whispers. "That's my grandson. That's who I raised you to be. But Grandma, the scholarship..." "Baby, there are lots of ways to get an education. There's only one way to build character. And you've got that part figured out." That night, as Damon sits at the kitchen table working on his scholarship essay, he pulls out the Harvard ring and sets it beside his laptop. Under the warm lamplight, it gleams with possibility. He starts typing. The weight of gold. What I learned from a stranger in the rain. For the first time in 17 drafts, the words flow naturally. Because now he knows exactly what shaped his character, and he has no idea that tomorrow, everything will change. That evening, as Ruby stared at the ring, 3 clues were about to converge in ways neither of them could imagine. And what they discovered would make them realize that Damon's sacrifice was noticed by someone far more important than they ever dreamed. After dinner, Ruby sits at the kitchen table with her magnifying glass, studying the Harvard ring under the lamplight. "Damon, baby, come look at this inscription." Damon leans over her shoulder as Ruby points to tiny letters engraved inside the band. R.A. Never forget where you came from. R.A., Ruby murmurs. "Richard Ashford. That was his name, right?" "Yes, ma'am. But there are probably thousands of Richard Ashfords in Ohio." Ruby nods, but something is nagging at her. That name sounds familiar somehow. She walks to the living room and returns with yesterday's newspaper, the one she couldn't read clearly without her glasses. "Baby, could you help me with this business section? There was an article I wanted to read, but the print is so small." Damon takes the paper and starts reading the headlines aloud. Most of it is typical business news, stock reports, company earnings, nothing interesting. Then he stops. "Ashford Industries announces record quarterly profits," he reads. Ruby grabs his arm. "What did you just say?" "Ashford Industries. Says here they're one of Ohio's largest construction and development companies." They look at each other, then back at the ring. "Could be a coincidence," Damon says, but his voice lacks conviction. The next morning at school, during his tutoring session, little Maria Santos mentions something that makes Damon's heart skip. "My daddy has a ring like that," she says, pointing to the Harvard ring on Damon's keychain. "Your daddy went to Harvard?" Damon asks, surprised. Maria giggles. "No, silly. He's a janitor, but he works at the big Ashford building downtown, the one with the giant A on top. He says the boss man has a ring just like yours." Damon stares at her. "The Ashford building?" "Uh-huh. Daddy says it's the tallest building in Cleveland, Mr. Ashford's office is at the very top. That afternoon, during his shift at Moretti's restaurant, Damon overhears a conversation at table 12 that makes his hands shake as he refills water glasses. Ashford's presentation this morning was incredible, one businessman says to another. Guy saved the quarterly projections single-handedly. How'd he manage that? I heard he was running late for the board meeting. That's the crazy part. He said some kid helped him fix a flat tire, put him in such a good mood, he nailed the whole presentation. Damon nearly drops the water pitcher. Ashford's always talking about character and community. Said this teenager restored his faith in the next generation. When Damon gets home that evening, Ruby is waiting with Mrs. Patterson's reading glasses and the newspaper spread across the kitchen table. "Baby," she says quietly, "I think we need to talk about that ring." She points to a small photo in the business section. It's grainy and unclear, but the caption reads, "Richard Ashford, CEO of Ashford Industries, discusses the company's community investment strategy." Damon squints at the photo. The face is blurry, but something about it seems familiar. "Grandma, you think—" "I think," Ruby says slowly, "that you might have helped someone very important yesterday." What they don't know yet is that at that exact moment, Richard Ashford is in his corner office 47 floors above Cleveland, making a phone call that will change their lives forever. The phone call Damon was about to receive would reveal that last night's Good Samaritan wasn't just wealthy. He was one of the most powerful men in Ohio, and what Richard Ashford was planning to do about it would blow your mind. Ruby spreads the newspaper across the kitchen table, adjusting Mrs. Patterson's reading glasses. The business section photo is grainy, but now that she's really looking, "Damon, baby, sit down." There's something in Ruby's voice that makes Damon immediately stop what he's doing. This is her serious voice. "Look at this article," she says, pointing to the headline. "Ashford Industries announces record quarterly profits." Damon reads over her shoulder. Richard Ashford, CEO and founder of Ashford Industries, one of Ohio's largest construction and development companies. Net worth estimated at $2.3 billion. The words hit him like a physical blow. $2.3 billion? Damon's voice comes out as a whisper. Ruby reads further. Known for philanthropic work and community development projects, started his company with a single construction crew in 1985. Damon sinks into his chair, staring at the ring on his keychain. I helped a billionaire change his tire? Baby, this man isn't just rich. He's one of the most powerful people in the state. Ruby continues reading. It says here he grew up in poverty in Detroit, lost his parents when he was young, was raised by his grandmother who worked as a nurse. The parallel hits Damon like lightning. He was raised by his grandmother, too. Just like you, baby. Just like you. Damon picks up the ring, examining it with completely new eyes. The inscription inside, R.A., never forget where you came from, suddenly carries so much more weight. Grandma, what does this mean? Before Ruby can answer, Damon's phone buzzes on the table. Unknown number. Cleveland area code. They both stare at it. Answer it, baby, Ruby whispers. Damon's hand trembles as he picks up the phone. Hello? Hello, is this Damon Williams? The voice is instantly recognizable. Polished, warm, confident. The same voice that thanked him yesterday morning on Route 90. Damon's mouth goes completely dry. Yes, sir, this is Damon. This is Richard Ashford. We met yesterday morning when you helped me with my tire. Ruby grabs Damon's free hand. Her eyes are wide with disbelief. Oh, yes, sir. How did you get my number? I made some calls. Contacted East Cleveland High School, described our encounter. Your chemistry teacher, Miss Rodriguez, confirmed your identity. She speaks very highly of you. Damon feels the room spinning around him. Ms. Rodriguez talked to a billionaire about him? Sir, I just found out who you are. I had no idea yesterday. Richard chuckles, and there's genuine warmth in the sound. That's exactly why I knew I chose the right person. Choose the right person? Damon, I've been thinking about our conversation all day. What you did yesterday reminded me of something I'd almost forgotten. Ruby is leaning so close to the phone she can hear both sides of the conversation. When I was your age, my grandmother told me that character is who you are when no one important is watching. Damon's breath catches. Those are almost the exact words Ruby has said to him his entire life. But here's the thing, Damon. Someone very important was watching yesterday. I was watching. And what I saw was a young man who chose to help a stranger instead of protecting his own future. Sir, I just did what anyone should do. No, son. You did what very few people would do. Ms. Rodriguez told me you missed your final chemistry exam to help me. She told me that exam was crucial for your college applications. Damon closes his eyes. Of course, Ms. Rodriguez told him everything. Yes, sir. That's true. And you're not angry about that? You don't regret your choice? Damon looks at Ruby, who nods encouragingly. No, sir. I'd do it again. There's a long pause on the other end of the line. When Richard speaks again, his voice is thick with emotion. Do you know what you've done, Damon? Sir, you've reminded me why I got into business in the first place. Not to make money, not to build an empire, but to create opportunities for people like you, people with character. Damon's heart is pounding so hard he's sure Richard can hear it through the phone. I've been looking for someone to help me with a very special project. Someone who understands what it means to struggle, but also has the vision to help others. What kind of project, sir? A community development initiative specifically focused on East Cleveland, creating opportunities for young people, building something that will change lives for generations. Ruby's eyes are filled with tears. She can sense what's coming. Damon, I'd like to offer you a full scholarship to Ohio State University. Tuition, room, board, and a living stipend. In exchange, you'd work part-time at Ashford Industries. The words hit Damon like a tsunami. Full scholarship, Ohio State, everything he's dreamed of. But Richard isn't finished. That's just the beginning, son. I want to create an automotive training center in East Cleveland, and I want you to help me design it. Damon nearly drops the phone. Ruby grabs his arm to steady him. Sir, I don't understand. Why me? Richard's answer will stay with Damon for the rest of his life. Because yesterday morning you had every reason to keep riding. But you stopped. You helped. You refused payment. Most importantly, you treated me with respect. Not because you knew who I was, but because that's who you are. And then Richard says something that changes everything. My grandmother raised me too, Damon. Yesterday you showed me that her lessons are alive in your generation. That gives me hope for the future. Within 48 hours, Damon's life would transform so completely that his biggest challenge would become learning to accept the unbelievable. But first, let me show you exactly what Richard Ashford had in mind. Tears are streaming down Damon's face as Richard continues speaking. There's one more thing, Damon. I've been looking for the right person to eventually take over community development at Ashford Industries. Someone who understands what it means to struggle, but also has the vision to help others rise above their circumstances. Ruby is crying now too, her hand pressed to her mouth in disbelief. I think that person might be you. Damon looks around their small kitchen. The leaky ceiling they've patched with buckets, the worn furniture, Ruby's careful budgeting papers scattered on the counter. In one phone call, everything is changing. Sir, this is more than I ever dreamed of. Good dreams should be more than you can imagine, son. That's what makes them worth chasing. Richard's voice becomes more businesslike, but the warmth never leaves it. Here's what I'm proposing. My assistant, Catherine Mills, will contact you tomorrow morning to begin the arrangements. The scholarship covers everything: tuition, fees, room, board, plus a $2,000 monthly living allowance. $2,000 a month, more than Ruby's entire Social Security check. You'll be enrolled in Ohio State's Accelerated Engineering Program. It's for exceptional students. You'll complete your degree in 3 years instead of 4. Ruby whispers a prayer of thanksgiving under her breath. During the school year, you'll work 15 hours weekly in our Community Development Division at $25 per hour. Summers, you'll be full-time at the same rate, plus housing allowance if you choose to live near our downtown offices. Damon tries to do the math in his head and gives up. It's more money than he's ever imagined earning. But that's just your personal opportunity, Damon. Let me tell you about the bigger picture. Richard pauses, and Damon can hear papers rustling. We're converting the old Westfield manufacturing plant on East 55th Street into a state-of-the-art automotive training center. Do you know the building? Damon knows it well. It's been abandoned for 8 years. A massive eyesore in his neighborhood. Yes, sir, I know it. $5 million for the initial renovation and equipment. We're going to create something East Cleveland has never seen before. $5 million for his neighborhood. Damon sits down heavily. The center will train 200 students annually in automotive repair, electrical systems, small engine maintenance, and even automotive engineering. Full certification programs that lead directly to employment. Ruby reaches over and squeezes Damon's hand. She's thinking about all the young people in their neighborhood who need exactly this kind of opportunity. We'll partner with local high schools for dual enrollment. Students can earn college credits while learning practical skills. Create a real pipeline from education to employment. Sir, this sounds incredible. It gets better. Every graduate will have guaranteed job placement. We're partnering with construction companies, auto dealerships, and repair shops throughout Ohio, starting wages of $18 per hour minimum. $18 an hour. Double what most people in East Cleveland earn. And Damon, I want you involved from day one. Help me design this program. Make sure it serves the community the way it should. Damon's mind is racing. Sir, could we add a section for small engine repair? Lawnmowers, generators, things like that? That's practical work people in the neighborhood could use immediately. Excellent suggestion. What else? Maybe a mentorship program? Pair students with successful mechanics and engineers? And what about a scholarship fund for the training center students who want to continue to 4-year degrees? Richard is quiet for a moment. When he speaks, there's pride in his voice. You're already thinking like a leader, son. All of those ideas are going into the plan. Then Richard drops another bombshell. There's one more person I'd like to bring into this project. Is Mrs. Williams available to speak? Ruby's eyes go wide. Damon hands her the phone with shaking hands. Hello, Mr. Ashford, Ruby says, her voice trembling. Mrs. Williams, your grandson just changed my life yesterday. Now I'd like to change yours. I'd like to offer you a position as community liaison for the training center. Ruby nearly drops the phone. Mr. Ashford, I'm 72 years old. Ma'am, wisdom doesn't have an expiration date. These students are going to need someone they trust, someone who understands their struggles, someone who can guide them not just through technical training, but through life. Ruby looks at Damon, who's nodding enthusiastically. The position comes with full health benefits, which I understand you need. Salary of $40,000 per year, plus performance bonuses. $40,000. More than Ruby has ever earned in her life. I don't know what to say. Say you'll help me build something that will change this community forever. Ruby closes her eyes, overwhelmed. Yes, Mr. Ashford. Yes, I will. Outstanding. Catherine will contact you both tomorrow with all the details. As the call winds down, Richard has one final message. Damon, I want you to keep that ring. Every time you look at it, remember that kindness has power you can't imagine. What you did yesterday morning is going to ripple through East Cleveland for generations. Thank you, sir, for everything. No, son. Thank you. You reminded me why I do this work. After they hang up, Damon and Ruby sit in their kitchen in stunned silence. Finally, Ruby speaks. Baby, do you realize what just happened? Damon looks at the ring on his keychain, then at his grandmother's tear-streaked face. I think we just witnessed a miracle, Grandma. No, baby. We just witnessed what happens when you live the values I taught you, when you choose character over convenience. That night, as Damon lies in bed staring at the ceiling, he thinks about the morning that changed everything. 20 minutes. One flat tire. One choice to help instead of hurry. And now everything is different. But the best part? This is just the beginning. 6 months later, the changes in East Cleveland were so dramatic that national news crews came to witness what locals were calling the Ashford effect. And what they found will restore your faith in what's possible when one act of kindness becomes a movement. 3 months after that life-changing phone call, Damon walks across Ohio State's campus in his engineering jacket. No longer the exhausted teenager on a broken bike, but a confident young man with a clear mission. His dorm room wall displays the Harvard ring in a small frame, right next to photos of Ruby and their old neighborhood, a reminder of where he came from and where he's going. His professors quickly notice something different about Damon. He doesn't just design solutions, Dr. Martinez tells colleagues. He designs solutions that work for real people. Meanwhile, back in East Cleveland, the transformation is breathtaking. The old Westfield manufacturing plant on East 55th Street buzzes with activity. Where broken windows and rust once dominated, a bright blue sign now spans the entrance. East Cleveland Automotive Training Center. Opening day draws local news vans lining the street. Ruby, now wearing a professional blazer with Community Liaison on her name tag, cuts the ribbon alongside Richard and Mayor Williams. In 6 months, we've enrolled 127 students, local TV reporter Sarah Chen announces, 92% job placement rate within 30 days of graduation. The numbers tell an incredible story, but the real impact is in the faces. Tyler Martinez, Damon's best friend, is now specializing in hybrid engine repair. Never thought I'd be working on Tesla motors, he grins, oil-stained hands holding a complex electrical component. Maria Santos's older brother Carlos is learning welding, already fielding job offers from 3 construction companies. His starting salary? $22 per hour. Keisha Johnson, a teenage mother, attends night classes in small engine repair while her daughter stays in the center's on-site childcare. For the first time, I can see a future, she tells a documentary crew. But the transformation goes far beyond the training center. Ruby has become the heart of the program. Students line up at her office for advice, encouragement, sometimes just a listening ear. Her wall displays dozens of thank you cards from graduates and their families. Mrs. Williams helped me believe I could do this, says Anthony Walker, 19, now employed as an automotive technician at a downtown dealership. She reminds me of my own grandmother. Mr. Peterson, Damon's old neighbor who taught him about cars, is now head instructor for small engine repair. Never thought I'd be teaching in a real classroom, he tells students. But Damon showed me that experience matters as much as education. The economic ripple effects are staggering. 3 new auto repair shops have opened in East Cleveland, all staffed by training center graduates. Local unemployment has dropped from 23% to 11% in just 6 months. Property values have increased 15% as working families move back to the neighborhood. Rose's Corner Store, once struggling to stay open, now stocks work boots and tool belts alongside groceries. The whole community feels different, says Mrs. Patterson, Damon's neighbor. People have hope again. The success catches national attention. CNN's education correspondent visits for a special report. The East Cleveland model is being studied by development experts nationwide. It's proof that targeted investment in human capital can transform entire communities. Other companies take notice. Ford Motor Company announces a partnership with the training center. The local credit union creates special auto loan programs for graduates. East Cleveland Community College expands its engineering transfer program. Richard announces Phase 2 during a packed community meeting. We're partnering with Cleveland State University to offer 4-year degrees in automotive engineering with full scholarships for training center graduates. The audience erupts in applause. During summer break, Damon works full-time as Assistant Director of Student Services. His office wall displays his scholarship essay, now framed. The Weight of Gold, What I Learned from a Stranger in the Rain. Students seek his advice because he understands their struggles. 2 years ago, I was washing dishes and patching bicycle tires, he tells them. Now I'm designing sustainable automotive systems. The only difference is someone believed in me. Ruby starts weekly Wisdom Wednesdays, informal sessions where she shares life lessons with students. Topics include how to shake hands in a job interview, why showing up early matters, and turning setbacks into comebacks. The transformation reaches even Ruby and Damon's personal life. Ruby's arthritis medication is now covered by excellent health insurance. Their old rental house has been renovated. No more buckets for roof leaks. But they stay in East Cleveland because, as Ruby says, this is where we belong. This is where we can do the most good. International delegations from Detroit, Birmingham, and even London visit to study the Cleveland model. Richard jokes, "Who knew changing a tire could become foreign policy?" HBO announces plans for a documentary. The Ring, a story of character and community. But the most important transformation isn't captured by any camera. It's the change in how an entire community sees itself. "We're not just surviving anymore," says Tyler, now a certified technician. "We're thriving." And it all started with Damon choosing to help a stranger. What began as 20 minutes of kindness has become a legacy that will impact generations. 2 years later, on another busy morning, a scene would unfold that proved kindness truly comes full circle. And what happened next will give you chills. October 2027. Damon, now a junior at Ohio State, drives his reliable Honda down the same stretch of Route 90 where everything began. The East Cleveland Automotive Training Center gleams in the distance, a beacon of hope where abandoned buildings once stood. Through his windshield, Damon spots something familiar. A car pulled over, hazard lights blinking, someone standing helplessly beside it. But this time, it's a young Latina woman in scrubs, clearly a healthcare worker heading home from a late shift. Without hesitation, Damon pulls over. The irony isn't lost on him. He's at the exact spot where his life changed, now in position to change someone else's. "Excuse me, miss? Looks like you could use some help. Meet Sophia Reyes. She works as a nursing aide at Cleveland Clinic, supporting her younger siblings while attending community college. Her old car has chosen the worst moment to break down." "I don't have money for a tow truck," she admits, embarrassed. "Don't worry about that," Damon says, examining her engine. "Let's see what we can do." It's a simple fix, corroded battery cables. Damon has the tools and expertise now. As he works, Sophia mentions she's studying to become a nurse. "That's beautiful," Damon says. "My grandmother always said the best careers are the ones where you serve others." When Sophia tries to pay him, Damon waves her off. "Just pay it forward sometime." Instead, he gives her a business card. East Cleveland Automotive Training Center, free Saturday workshops for healthcare workers. On the back, he's written, "Sometimes the most important exchanges happen between strangers on highways." Meanwhile, at the training center, Ruby, now 74, leads her evening community circle. Tonight's topic, how one moment of kindness can change everything. She doesn't know that at that exact moment, her grandson is living that lesson. Sophia's car starts perfectly. As she drives away, Damon receives a text from Richard. Saw you on Route 90. Couldn't be prouder. The circle continues. That night, Damon places the Harvard ring in a display case at the training center with a plaque. A reminder that character is who you are when no one important is watching. Rain begins to fall again. Damon gets back in his car, knowing that somewhere in East Cleveland, a young person is writing scholarship essays, dreaming of impossible futures. The next morning, Sophia enrolls in the training center's automotive workshop. 6 months later, she's teaching other healthcare workers basic car maintenance. A year after that, she opened her own repair shop specializing in budget-friendly service for working families. Some stories end, others just begin new chapters, and somewhere tonight, someone else is cycling home in the rain, about to face their own Route 90 moment. The question is, what will they choose? The story you just heard is more than entertainment. It's proof that your next choice could change someone's world. Every day, each of us faces moments like Damon's choice on Route 90. We see someone who needs help. We can keep walking, or we can stop. We can make excuses, or we can make a difference. Damon's 20 minutes of kindness created jobs for hundreds, transformed a community, and inspired a movement. But it started with one decision: to see a stranger's need as more important than his own comfort. Tomorrow, you'll have your own Route 90 moment. Maybe it's helping a coworker, encouraging a struggling student, or simply treating service workers with respect. The size of the gesture doesn't matter. The choice to care does. Share this story with someone who needs to believe in the power of kindness. Like this video if you're ready to be someone else's miracle. Subscribe if you want to see more proof that good people still exist. Because somewhere tonight, someone is cycling home wondering if tomorrow will be different. Maybe your act of kindness will be the answer they've been looking for. What will your tire-changing moment be?